Start the recording. Switch of screens. All right, guys, welcome back. This is our 40th episode of Ophion. Just to have a few quick announcements before we dive right into our traditional captain's log. First things first is between now and our last session, I have released a free mission compendium for Star Trek Adventures. All of the adventures, save for the first one, come from the very same group you're listening to, the Ophion group. The Ophion group. And if you're interested in that sort of thing, I have a link to it on my Twitter. It is on my Patreon page. That's kind of the second announcement, says I have opened up a Patreon. Again, I'm treating it like a tip jar than I am like, say, an artist or anyone depending on the income. So, hey, if you like my content I'm putting out and you don't feel like subbing on Twitch or you want to support me in another way, great. If not, no big deal. I like to think that I keep my content free and open to everybody. And hey, if you like it, I appreciate the support. The other announcement I have is that hopefully from this week forward, we've gotten over the worst of the holiday thing. So that we'll be returning to our usual weekly schedule, unless obviously people are going to be out for too much of a session kind of a thing. But I think moving forward, we're going to be able to continue our every week type thing. What was the other thing
Christmas
I had?
notwithstanding.
Yeah, Christmas notwithstanding. That week might be a little bit weird, but otherwise I think we're fine. But yeah, I think with...
Actually, never mind. Christmas this year is on a Tuesday.
Yeah, I think we're like on the 23rd or something. I think we'll be all right, but I'll ask as we get closer. But with that all said, let's go ahead and get started. So, it has been a while, but Captain, I believe you have a captain's log for us.
Mm-hmm. Captain's log, stardate 56851.3. The Ophion has arrived at Starbase 621, which has picked up the name Bucket Station. Repairs have begun, but Murthrin has advised a full overhaul will take about a month. As such, all crew not essential to the refit or the repair of the ship have been given full leave as long as they don't leave the system. However, I must admit, being this close to Earth since we departed over a year makes for a very tempting visit. Word has reached us about a coup in the Romulan Senate and Shenzhou's attack on the Enterprise. This does worry me a bit. I've seen the burgeoning morality of the Romulan Empire and hope that recent events will not set them back. I also have misgivings about the number of Zenkethi on this station. I guess that this starbase is an unofficial diplomatic outreach opportunity, but it's still very weird seeing a species that has maintained closed borders and a xenophobic attitude working side by side with Starfleet officers. Perhaps there's a hope for an alliance with the Zenkethi after all. End log.
Alrighty. So, let me switch screens a little bit, and I'm now just realizing that my voice is being a little bit weird on stream, but hopefully it's not too weird. But you guys are now here, and I'll zoom out for the stream in a second. But basically, you guys are within Starbase 621 at the moment. Now, according to whatever canon you believe is correct, quote-unquote, 621 I've seen listed as a Sierra-class starbase. I've seen it listed as a guard tower class. And partially because I like the guard tower, and partially because my Friday game is set on Starbase 621, I've decided to just sort of maintain the quote-unquote illusion that you are dealing with a guard tower class. Now, to bring everyone up to speed, in case you're not familiar with the class, guard towers were built in the days of Kirk. Naturally, it's been updated with the times, but most of the station's key features are still running on like TOS era tech. And as the captain has said, the starbase itself is kind of a major hub for the Zenkethi coalition because it's quite literally right on their border. Their current ambassador, Navar Fik Velbi, has been there since about the end of the Dominion War, so about 2375. So that's 4 years for us? And the Zenkethi themselves are about as prevalent here as they are on, as Bajorans are on DS9. And another interesting tidbit you guys would have picked up by now, is that the USS Caliburn, a Sabre class vessel, is permanently attached to Starbase 621, much like the Defiant is on DS9. Now, as far as the Ophion is concerned, you guys are in the major repair dock at the moment. That is actually within the Guard Tower class station on the map. And the other big ticket item, which I think you might find interesting, is it actually has a complete terrestrial enclosure with a sprawling quote-unquote mega city. This mega city is, I would qualify it as kind of like a miniature Manhattan in that it is densely packed. It is probably a departure from your standard promenade that one would expect on a starbase like this. And it's that sort of open air, almost natural feeling terrestrial enclosure that has really given the station its personality. And today, we're actually going to start with you, Captain. And Captain Skull, you have been told by one of the Admiral's aides that you are to meet Admiral Wolf in his office at the earliest opportunity.
Very well. Then I shall meet him at the earliest opportunity.
Alrighty, so we're going to cut to ops.
Can I ask a question before
You
we
may
start?
certainly ask a question.
What version of the Zencathia are we using for mental picturing? Is it the Star Trek Online giant
We are
reptiles?
indeed using the Star Trek Online models, yes.
Oh, right there on the screen. All right.
Yep. Alright, so, Captain, you find your way up to ops, and when you step out into ops, you see that it is much like most of the other station, or most, you know what I'm saying. It is TOS style, which means, antique-looking panels, blinking lights, displays that aren't terribly informative unless you know what you're looking at, things like that. While I don't have tokens for all the NPCs here, just sort of imagine that most of this place is filled. The two that would stand out to you the most, though, is one Orion-looking female who's off to the right, and a larger-looking reddish-hued Zenkethi that is currently at one of the main consoles in the recess area of the floor. Though your destination, Captain, is the door immediately to your left, which is closed.
All right. Sorry, quick question.
Sure.
How long have we been in dry dock until now?
I would say it has been maybe about 3 to 7 days.
Okay.
And would you want a security escort or no?
I don't believe that this is necessary.
Okay. I'm gonna log with this that I'm keeping track of the captain,
Okay.
just in case.
Noted.
Very well. All right. Captain will chime to enter the door.
All right. So you don't get a response when you chime the door, but if you were to put your ear to the door, you would hear that there is some sort of an intense conversation going on inside. You're not quite able to make out actual words, but the the volume and the frequency of this back and forth that you're hearing is pretty intense.
I'm going to take a quick look. Is anybody else on the bridge actually paying any attention to what's going on?
No, seems to be standard fare for whatever is usual here in Ops.
All right. I'm just going to chime again, and if they don't answer this time, I'm just going to stand outside and try not to look completely awkward.
All right. Well, this time you're lucky, and the Admiral answers. And Admiral Wolf comes over the comms and goes, What? I'm in the middle of something. What do you want?
Oh. Sorry, sir. Captain Skull reporting as directed.
Captain Skull, who? Ah, right, you. Come in, and you, get the hell out of my office. And the door opens, right on cue, and a Vulcan-looking female, or maybe Romulan would be a better descriptor based on her dress, but a Romulan female, that I'm using Eldar art for, but sue me, I liked it. But you see that... you see that she's dressed in what I would describe as, I guess you would qualify it as quote-unquote mercenary armor. It actually kind of looks something like a 40k Harlequin. It's very colorful. It's almost jester-like. And this Romulan-looking individual just kind of notes you on the way out, but she also turns back and says, "We're not done, Admiral. We're going to continue this conversation later." And he just says, "Fine, fine, just get the fuck out of here." And she kind of goes, and she departs.
I'll wander in and just sort of glance over my shoulder and look. What is Wolf's current attitude look like?
So, if I had to qualify it, imagine a very upset and very aggravated Mark Hamill. That's his token. But he definitely does not look or sound pleased. In fact, in the few seconds you have to analyze him, you hear him cough and you see him sneeze, and you would note what appears to be a form of a humidifier in the room. He probably has something bordering on a cold.
Oh dear. Okay. Well, I'm just going to stand at attention and wait for him to say something.
All right. Well, once you come inside, he says, "Ah, right, Captain Small, was it?"
A skull, sir.
Right. Have a seat, and don't mind me. And he literally pulls out a flask and starts pouring it into a glass. Do you imbue?
Of course. I never turn down any food or drink that's offered.
Good man. And he reaches below his desk and pulls out another cup. Well, it's more like a shot glass, but he pours you something green and slides it on over to you. And he says, "It's the real stuff. I don't stand for any of this synthahol crap."
I'll be sure to bring by some. We have our own stills, sir. I'll see what I can do to provide you some from our personal stock. I'll raise a glass to him, and then slug it back and prepare myself for the inevitable saves.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I'm gonna be nice today and say that it's just gonna be a fitness security at a difficulty 0. You've definitely had worse things before, but if you roll a complication, it will be funny.
Fitness security. Okay.
All right. Well, you don't succeed. Well, you don't get any momentum, but you still succeed. So, like I said, it's strong, but you've had way worse before.
I take it that what I just saw was not the textbook style of Starfleet interspecies diplomacy.
Oh, gods, no. That woman is going to be the death of me. Maybe I should back up a little bit and tell you why I called you here, Captain Small. And I'm not... I was going to say, out of character, I am deliberately saying your name wrong.
I know.
Okay.
I know.
But he goes on to say, "Well, Small, here's the picture. Obviously, we're going to fix up your ship best we can here, but I got this message here from Starfleet," and he picks up a pad and waves it around. "I got this message here about all your escapades and that Sabine Expanse years, and frankly, I'm a little bit concerned. Are you going to be blowing up shit around my station?"
I would certainly hope not, Admiral Wolf.
Somewhere in engineering, Murthrin sneezes.
Locke's ears are itching very badly
Yeah.
as he puts away explosives.
Somewhere up a bar in a bar fight.
Yeah.
I should note that, Admiral, that well over 80% of the explosions that have been directly or indirectly caused by Ophion's presence have been against opposing forces.
Right. Well, let me just tell you this much. We don't really like that kind of thing around here. It spooks the Zenkethi. Damn bastards. It's bad enough I have to put up with them in the first place, but... Anyways. The point I'm trying to make here is... and he starts hacking cough as, you know, he almost doubles over as this flu-like symptom takes him, and he says, "Damn. Apologies. I came down with the Rigelian flu, and it's kicking my ass. What was I saying? Oh, right. So, I don't know how you handle things on your own, Captain, but we prefer not to stick our nose into things that don't concern us. So if you ever start thinking you want to go checking out Myriad, maybe you should not do that.
I'll just raise an eyebrow, make a mental note to at least ask what Myriad is from our own ship computers. He doesn't seem all that happy. No, sir. I fully intend. I thank you for your hospitality and your services. And as soon as Ophion is spaceworthy again, we have to get back to our original assignment, which is literally across the sector, or literally across Federation space.
Meh. Well, Small, if you need anything, just let me know. Though, I take
Absolute,
that back.
absolute.
You're going to tell my yeoman, because that's why I have a yeoman, so I don't have to do this shit myself.
Yes, sir, Wolf.
All right, well, you can go. I'm done with you.
It's been a pleasure meeting you, Admiral Wolf. And then I'll turn on my heels and stride out.
Yeah, and the moment the door is shut, you hear a bit of laughter from the Orion female in the room, and she says, "Well, Captain, what did you think of our illustrious admiral?"
He's either going... I suspect that he will either single-handedly save the Federation, or he will set our interspecies relationships back by a quarter century.
Well, you'll love this fact then, and she kind of waves you over so that, she's not obviously yelling across ops. And she says, "Well, you'll love this fact then, Captain. He's actually been here for about 7 years now, and reason he got this assignment was because he was one of those instrumental in the original Zenkethi War. She smiles and does air quotes, promoted him to this job."
I'm just quickly going to look over my shoulder. He's not some sort of, embodiment of one of their gods or something, is it? Because I've been to Deep Space Nine.
Oh, no. Sure, he killed a hell of a lot of Zenkethi and earned their tactical respect, but it's not like they think he's some sort of mad genius or anything.
Well, that's pleasant. Do you mind if I have a look around? It's my first host served on a Constitution-class vessel, and this is bringing back some memories.
Of course. Is there anything you'd like to see in particular?
I'd be very interested to see what sort of updates you've been doing to make the fusion reactors as more effective to deal with the increasing power needs of 24th century technology.
Well, I can't show you myself, but I know just the individual to call.
Splendid.
She taps the comm badge and says, "Lieutenant Commander Tivna to Lieutenant Commander Varro. Varro, are you there?" And after a moment, Varro's voice comes over and he says, "Yes, Tivna, what is it?" And she says, "Well, I have a Captain Skull here who would love a tour of your engineering deck. Shall I have him meet you down there, or would you like to come up and greet him yourself?" And Varro says, "Send him down here. We're kind of busy with maintenance at the moment, but for a captain like him, I can spare some time." Tivna just smiles and says, "Well, there you go, Captain."
Oh, thank you so much for your assistance, Lieutenant Commander.
Yeah, of course. And you didn't hear this from me, but if you ever got to deal with the Admiral again, just bring him some booze. He's real lovely if you do.
I've noticed. Does he have a particular flavor?
As long as it's strong enough to knock you on your ass.
I think I got a couple of those.
And she just sort of smiles and goes back to her console.
I'll just mosey my way down and just sort of look at the Zenkethi and go, "Sup?" And then I'll just go back to looking at technical diagrams and stuff.
Okay, cool. So, Captain, you're going to see Tivna leave, but that's for a very good reason. So you'll probably be there for another 5 minutes, and then Tivna will leave. But we're going to cut briefly to Locke and Drake, both of you together. Well, maybe not in the same place, but addressing you both at the same time.
We can be together.
Okay.
Yeah.
It actually works better if you are.
That somebody deleted that file, so I'm sure it wouldn't be too hard because I rolled like crap to cover my tracks.
Right. I think by now you would have an inkling that the other knows what's going on, but maybe you haven't heard it from the horse's mouth, as it were.
Gotcha.
But the reason you would be
I
together...
called actually Drake over to talk.
Yeah. Well, let's see. Where do we want to have this? Let's do it on the bridge. Why not? Don't mind me. I'll just be cleaning up some tokens.
Yeah, especially get rid of that one. I mean, Tin and Sona, we can probably, like, you know, we can tell Sona to ignore us, and Tin we can probably bribe, so.
Yeah.
So actually, I'm actually holding up a comm badge to Drake right now. So what do you notice about this comm badge, Lieutenant?
You're holding it? It's
Yeah.
not on your chest?
Passing it over to you.
I'll take it.
Don't tap it yet.
And then it kind of dawns on, okay.
Notice the weight about it. Feels about that same weight as a regular comm badge.
Yeah, maybe a couple grams off, but yeah.
Here, just put it on the floor over there.
And I'll inconspicuously, or do you want me to just
Doesn't
toss it
matter.
over there? Okay. And Drake will just drop it on the floor.
Right. I hit a couple buttons on the control pad and be like, okay, tap it twice.
So he'll tap it with his foot twice.
And then I activate a level 3 force field around it.
Mm-hmm.
4, 3, 2, and it explodes.
Nice.
I put a Triceron explosive into it and mixed with the power pack. I was supposed to go off after 5 seconds. That was 4. I will need to work on the timing a little bit.
On these kind of things, it's good to know exactly when it's going to do that.
Suppose the force field protected everything but the carpet it was on. Oh.
Yeah, and at this point, Sona, who I guess is the ranking officer, would turn around in the chair and says, "Gentlemen, I must remind you that according to Starfleet regulation, blah, 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 that detonation of explosives on the bridge is not permissible by any means."
Drake will look at the scorched carpet, look back at Sona. Can you say that in the captain's voice?
She does so in literally the same monotone, but it is the captain's voice.
Yeah. It's almost like he's still here.
Yeah. No, Yuri. Yeah, it's because just something I was toying with. Because you know those moments whenever we were captured or imprisoned, the first thing they do is take our comm badge. So I've set it for a couple things, so it can either have the timer, so you either hit it twice and then toss it and it goes off, or if you don't depress it in a certain regular interval, it will go off.
Interesting. That can actually be quite handy. It's been a long time since I had someone make me useful little gadgets like this.
Yes. As Locke scratches his ears again as he's playing with the explosives.
Yeah.
I don't know why my ears are burning.
Well, it's a good thing, too, because both of you get a message at the same time, so you both know that you both got the same message. It is one of those below the belt, or maybe not below the belt, one of those under-the-table messages that says to meet in a specific skiff on Deck 5 of the station.
Is it also signed by E?
It is not signed by E, it is signed anonymously. It just it carries like the obvious Starfleet intelligence markings, but it is not signed by anyone in particular.
I'll just kind of look over at Locke and kind of
Locke
like point to the console, like, you got this too, right?
No, yeah, single nod.
And I'll send him text only to his console of you want to go check it out?
Right. Should I bring any comm badges?
Not if you can't tell me exactly how long it's going to take for it to, do its thing. But bring that tricorder you've been working on.
All right.
Locke grabs his regular tricorder.
And Drake will send a message to Shatsu to send another tactical officer up here.
Okay. All right. So you guys proceed out onto the station and to Deck 5, and interestingly, when you get to deck 5, the turbolift doors don't open right away. In fact, they ask you to verify your name and identity before the doors will even open.
Lieutenant Gordlock, serial number AKY4937.
And the computer chimes and then waits for Drake.
Drake will kind of give a side glance to Locke. And then turn back to the turbolift door. Security clearance, Galahad, 11021 Alpha.
Computer chimes and the doors open. And I'm just going to use this map because I really like this map. But basically the entire floor or the entire deck is a secure compartmented facility or skiff. And waiting for you, or at least the individual that approaches you when the doors open, is none other than Tivna, who the captain saw not too long ago. And between the three of you, there's only a few other warm bodies that you see, but they just seem to be doing their own intelligence work of their own. And Tivna just kind of comes up to you both and says, gentlemen, glad you got my message. Come over here. Let's have a quick chat, if you will.
And Drake didn't leave the ship not armed.
Okay.
So, yeah. I at least have my Type 2.
Okay.
I'd like to bring more, but I at least have my Type 2.
Type 2 and a tricorder.
Alrighty, noted. And, Tivna doesn't seem to really mind. In fact, she might even smile at the fact that you have some toys with you. But she basically leads you over to a series of chairs next to a desk and just motions for you all to sit, as she does herself.
Drake will take a quick look around the room, see if there's any other entrances, exits, even like Jeffrey's 2 type panels, and then he'll take a seat.
I would say you would see a few Jeffrey's Tube-like panels, but the main difference is that these are locked down more heavily than normal tube access, and by that I mean the panels are thicker, they have a stronger lock on them, and it's, as I said, it's literally like this entire deck is meant to be the most secure place on the station.
Gotcha.
But yeah.
Interesting chamber you have here.
Oh, well, thank you. I actually helped rebuild this entire deck back in 2371. Rather proud of it, actually.
Looks very secure. I'm sure the Zenkathi have been having a lot of trouble getting in here.
Oh, yeah. The only Zenkathi I ever allow on my deck is, well, we call him our security officer. Well, I say we. Everyone else calls him the security officer. I call him a pain in my ass, but what can you do?
Yeah, well, I mean, if you're the one rebuilding an entire deck of a station, it's kind of easy to hide a room like this.
Well, trust me, it's something we've dealt with in a less than Starfleet way, but we have an understanding. But anyway, gentlemen, to business, perhaps. I believe it's safe.
Sits down or tries to sit down in a calm, kind of very suave sort of way, and the chair leans back too far, and he kind of wobbles and kind of horribly embarrassingly rights himself and straightens. Yes, let's get down to business.
Tivna, of course, cracks a smile at that, and she says, well, I think the first thing I should say is that there are those of us within the intelligence community that have noticed your inquiries. And while I personally don't care what you're after, I think it's important for me to tell you that I've started to see cogs moving that have never started moving in my entire history with the intelligence community. I don't know where this leads, honestly, but I think it's something important enough to bring you here and tell you that if you're going to keep digging into Admiral Sloan, then you might start running into trouble.
Well, if he is any relation to the other Sloan that I know, trouble needs to come to him.
She just sort of smiles in a knowing way and says, "Well, unofficially, I know about as much as you do. The fact that Sloane's name has appeared again within Starfleet intelligence records is disturbing to say the least. But I haven't exactly explored the matter too much. I'm a little bit more concerned with what the Zenkethi are doing in recent times."
Well, I mean, that should be your concern, being you have hundreds of them, thousands
Thousands.
on your ship, on your station.
Yeah, definitely in the thousands.
And just, are you actually Starfleet intelligence, or do you prefer to wear black? And Drake will just kind of smirk.
She returns the expression and says, "Well, unofficially, or maybe officially, well, you know what I mean. I am the regional intelligence expert for this sector."
Okay, then.
Hmm.
Uh-oh.
Don't suppose you can any offer us any additional insight to the matter?
Well,
Keep us from prying.
oh no, I encourage the prying. Hell, I find it amusing. Let's just say this much. The whole Harlock thing, that angle, let's just say that the more I look into it, the more I start to have questions that remain unanswered. Well, I don't think I need to tell you this, but I think S31 has their dirty fingers in this pie so deeply that they might as well just come up with hands covered within what's the proper term? Covered in pie guts. There's no way that they're not involved at this point. But why they, of all people, let a Federation world go pretty much into slavery, or why they forced a particular species that isn't humanity into the Federation, that I don't know.
Do you happen to know when the last time somebody actually dug into this?
My understanding is that you're among the first, which is why I've kind of called you here. I know I've said, not just too long ago, that I'm indifferent to the whole matter, but again, as the sort of regional manager in charge, I did want to offer my services on an unofficial capacity if you wanted me to pull on some strings my end.
I mean, strategically speaking, do either one of the worlds have anything whatsoever, you know, as far as being close enough for a listening outpost, or I don't know, or blocking a certain system, or...
Well, the one that we forcibly, and she uses air quotes, forcibly annexed actually has a large amount of trilithium, which, out of character if you don't remember what trilithium is, at least as far as I remember. It is used in starship construction quite a bit.
I'm less interested in why someone would coerce a planet into joining the Federation, because the benefits that are fairly obvious. I'm much more interested in want to avoid the ship answering a distress call, surrendering it into the Orions. It's to benefit the Orions, punish the other colony. That is,
yeah. Or on that thread, did they use or give up that Theta Sigma 12 to put an operative inside the Orion Syndicate?
And Tivnik kind of snaps her fingers and points at Drake and says,
Something.
I think you're onto something there, Lieutenant. In fact, that's actually where I was going to go with this. I, of course, have my own contacts within the Syndicate that are undercover, but it's my belief that the individuals or the force behind this, shall we call it, heinous act, they used it in order to get someone in on the inside.
But to what means is what remains the mystery.
Exactly.
So, I mean, in standard operating procedure would mean that we would put someone under to track down the other person.
Well, if you are interested in joining, and she again uses air quotes, in joining the Orion Syndicate, I have an Uncle Huzek on Myriad that you might want to interface with. Personally, I think he's an odd uncle, but hey, he comes in handy. I've used him more than enough since I got stationed here.
Well, I mean, I think, and he kind of gives like a wayward glance to Locke, but I think all of us that do any sort of field work know that having friends or people who owe you in the Orion Syndicate is usually a good thing.
Exactly. Well, gentlemen, my time is running out here. I am expected back in ops, so if you have anything you want me to ask in particular among my contacts, please get me a pad by no later than 800 hours.
Will do.
Suddenly their comm badges go off.
Actually, they don't.
In that room?
Yeah,
When you
that
say
room
go
is
off.
sealed.
Okay. I'm gonna keep trying to calm them until they're available.
And Drake will look at Locke and then look back at Tavina. And what are we doing for a cover story?
Well, depends on what you are trying to use as a cover. Well, I guess out of character, what are you using cover story for at this point?
Mainly for the fact that I always like having cover stories of why I wasn't somewhere.
Oh, I see.
Are we meant to be on duty at the moment, or are we just...
No, I mean everybody on the Ophion has been more or less been given a blanket shore leave by the captain, as long as you don't leave the system. So none of you except Murthrin is probably on duty at the moment.
Gotcha. Actually, Drake will kind of look at Locke and Tavina. How about we do this? Station security broke up a fight. I was involved in it, and Locke happened to be around and was tasked to escort me back to my ship.
Too many other possible people, because then you have to wonder who you were getting in a fight with. Easier just to say you were working in the lab.
I don't work in a lab.
You were in my lab, and I had the silence mode on.
And surprisingly, Tivna actually calls upon something that recently just happened, and she says, well, you can always go with the excuse that your little explosive device didn't exactly work as planned, so you were consulting an expert on the station. And she winks. And
there you go.
Just in case it wasn't obvious, there's practically no way she should know about that.
Drake's just slowly shaking his head. Just with a smile.
Yeah. But yeah, unless either of you stops Tivna at this point, she says, well, gentlemen, I will be in ops if you need me. And she starts heading towards the turbo lift.
Yeah, I just kind of motion for Locke to follow her out the turbo lift.
All right. Go back to duty, as it were?
Well, back to whatever, anyway. But the
Do
moment
comm badges go off as soon as they go out?
Yes, as soon as they leave Deck 5, your comm badges both beep, and now, Pinek, you're able to get a hold of them.
Lieutenants Locke and Drake.
Here.
Finally. Is there a particular reason I was unable to reach both of you?
No, just in a area with lots of interference.
Intriguing. Would you mind caring to explain the scorch marks on the bridge floor?
Science?
Drake will chime in. Wild card?
Gentlemen, you've been given a very well-stocked R&D lab. The bridge is not an experimental lab. I do not want to have to warn either of you again.
we will, of course, replace that section of the carpet. I will.
Very well. I am departing the ship shortly. As soon as you get back, Lieutenant Sona is in charge, as has the con.
All right. And that actually works out very well. But let's go to Mirthrin before I do you, Pinek. So Mirthrin, obviously,
Pinek getting himself off the ship with the empath on it.
Yeah. That's up to you where you want to be at this point, Mirthrin. You could very well be elbow deep in repairs, or you could be on the station somewhere. Entirely up to you. And I'll put us back on here so you kind of have a deck plan.
He probably would be elbow deep in repairs and just enjoying being able to work on the ship without the immediate threat of anything.
Alrighty. So it is at this point
Just
that
repairing the ship. Nothing can go wrong here.
That's because everything has gone wrong.
So we'll say you're working on some EPS conduit on some random deck, though we all know it's probably deck 7 because it's deck 7. Everything always goes wrong there.
I mean, it's the main joining plane for all 3 sections.
Mm-hmm. But Mirthrin, remind me, are you empathic or telepathic? I always forget.
Empathic.
Okay.
Grew up in Vulcan, so never really got in the practice to be properly telepathic.
Right. I would say that you suddenly feel a overwhelming sense of dread. And this sense of dread is coming from somewhere on the station. And
they're very obviously external.
Yes, it is definitely external. And I guess if you're looking on this map, it's coming from above you. Quote unquote.
All right, so don't know whoever it would working with Mirthrin, but he's like going working, and then he just sort of like freezes in mid bolt turn and just sort of glances up and then goes, "Oh, that's not good."
We'll say Zenixia is with you because Zenixia is a fun character, and she says, what is it, Mirthrin? Is something wrong?"
I don't know, but something is wrong. Someone is in trouble. And he can you finish up here? And without even waiting for her to say anything, without even waiting for her to reply, he just puts the tool down and sort of gets up and starts quickly making his way out of the Jeffries tube.
Okay. Where are you heading?
Just basically, he's going to start going out of the ship and heading straight up to where he's feeling it coming from. And as he goes, he'll probably... Actually, would he? No, probably wouldn't have time. But he's going to go up, and as he goes, he'll sort of calm the captain as he goes.
Okay. Yeah, you get a hold of the captain.
Skull here.
Mirthrin, something's wrong on the station.
Yeah, I'll say they've rewired this fusion reactor completely.
No, you don't understand. Something is wrong. I don't know what, but someone is in trouble.
All right, where shall I meet you?
Top deck, somewhere in the arcology. I'll let you know once I'm closer.
All right. Skull to Drake.
Oh,
He muted his comm badge.
Yeah, I think he stepped away, or he's muted.
Yeah. Or I'm just going to play it that he's in the sensor or in the comm badge blocked area.
You can always calm your XO.
Yeah, that's the next plan.
Right.
Skull to Pinek.
So, Pinek, you don't get that because we're going right to you next.
Ooh.
So, Pinek,
Dun, dun, dun.
I don't have a map for this because I think Theater of the Mind is going to play this much, much better. So, Pinek, you awake covered in blood. And next to you, in this alleyway, I mean, you look around and you're immediately able to identify that you are in the alleyway somewhere in the terrestrial enclosure. Next to you on the floor or the ground is a dead Orion female. You have none of your equipment on you, even your comm badge. You just have your uniform on you. And you have no memory of how you got here, who this woman is, or why you're covered in what's probably her blood.
Well, this is a hell of a weekend. My first action is to not touch anything.
Mm-hmm.
I will find the nearest wall computer or station.
Mm-hmm.
Ascertain my location.
I
And
would
then-
say... Oh, go ahead, sorry.
No, go ahead. I want to know where I am first.
I would say that, as I said, right now you're in an alleyway, and to get to a computer terminal, you would have to go out onto the street and search for a terminal that way. And looking, up the alleyway, you do see foot traffic going by. No one seems to have noticed you in the alleyway quite yet.
I will walk right out and go to a terminal.
All right, so you walk out, and I mean, you're covered in blood. People are immediately that see you're going to go, "Whoa, what the hell's happening?" And maybe a concerned bystander comes up to you and says, "Are you all right? Are you okay?"
I believe I am unharmed. I must access a terminal in order to communicate with my crew.
Okay. They just kind of look you up and down and say, all right, there's a terminal over here, I guess.
Thank you. And I will walk right over to it.
All right. And yeah, you now have full capabilities to look up where you are and talk with people of your crew.
Pinek to Captain. Captain Skull.
Skull here. Go ahead.
I need you to meet me in the archaeology, or I sent him wherever my location is, where the alleyway is.
Murthrin and I are already en route. Is everything all right up there, Commander?
I am unable to answer that question, Captain. I will inform you of the circumstances when you arrive.
Very well. Murthrin and I are heading up to the archaeology.
Hmm.
All right. So, in the meantime, for them arriving, what are you going to do, Pinek?
I just stand there. I don't want to make any movements, the logical thing here is to just wait for people to come. Because anything I do can be inferred or something.
It's a good thing you don't move, because right at about the same time as Murthrin and Skull arrive, the security officer that Skull saw earlier in Ops, Lagar Tok Mak A, he arrives more or less at the same time, and he's got a guard with him. He's got 2 or 3 Zenkethi with him. And Lagar gets to you first, Pinek, and in a very gruff and forward voice, he says, "Why are you covered in blood?"
I am unable to answer that question.
Not good enough.
I am sorry, that is all the information I have.
You will explain, or I will be taking you into custody.
I believe my captain is on his way. If you wish to remand me into custody, that is your right as a security officer.
And it is at this point that Murthrin and Skull, you arrive on scene.
And quick question.
Sure.
From Murthrin to Pinek. Is Murthrin getting a sense of barely suppressed murderous impulses off Pinek?
Roll me an insight and we'll say a con.
Because I can immediately see this sort of going badly on account of previous stuff.
Right. Yeah, it's going to be an insight con, difficulty 2.
Insight con, difficulty 2. Definitely a focus.
Mm-hmm. That's all you need. So I would think, Murthrin, you know that something has happened with Pinek ever since the planet. But it's not like he's ever had an intense desire to kill someone. And even now, unless Pinek says he wants to, you're not getting a vibe that he is thinking of, going on a killing spree or anything. In fact, Pinek, why don't you just tell him what you are personally feeling at the moment?
I mean, that was the idea. It's like, Pinek, what is Mirthrin getting off him?
Definitely confusion. I wouldn't say any really. Not that he's feeling a particularly strong emotion, but he's definitely making sure that his previous disorder is not coming to surface here. Definitely in intensity and suppression, but definitely confusion is coming through.
Yeah. So he's been off since the planet, but this is just like confusion in addition to that.
Yeah, something like that.
Like,
Commander, explain, please.
and I think. Oh well, no, you go first.
The only information I have, Captain, is that I blacked out on my way into the station. I was heading towards the medical facilities, and when I awoke, I was in that alleyway over there, and there is a dead Orion woman. I appear to be covered in her blood. I have not touched anything of the crime scene, and as soon as I discovered my situation, I immediately came to calm you.
Who's on con duty right now?
Lieutenant Sona, I believe, sir.
Skull to Sona.
So, as you get a hold of Sona, Lagar motions for two of his guards to immediately flank you, Pinek, and Lagar goes over to the alleyway to inspect things. But yeah, you do reach Sona, and she says, yes, Captain, what can I do for you?
I need a priority site-to-site transport. I need Locke, I need Drake, and I need Prier transported to my location immediately.
Already underway, sir. Should I send any particular equipment?
We're going to need an autopsy kit.
I will make sure that Prier is outfitted with it, sir. And yeah, we'll say in the few moments before Locke and Drake, before you guys get chimed in and beamed to the situation, Lagar comes back and says, Captain, it is at this point that I am placing your commander under official arrest.
You understand that you're dealing with a member of my crew, and by Starfleet regulations that I have and this is a Federation station, therefore my crew will assist in the investigation.
Well, then you will know that on this station, I have as much control as your Constable Odo does on DS9. You will be following my rules, and until I am satisfied otherwise, your commander will be, shall we say, sequestered away in the brig.
Yes. I'm just going to look Commander up and down. I'm sorry, Pinek.
Can we come in right now?
Yeah, I was going to say, it's about now that you two arrive.
Awesome. Drake transports in and immediately says to the two guys that are behind Pinek, touch him and I snap both your jaws.
And the Zenkethi actually starts squaring off about you. Like, they look like they are willing to fight if you want to push the issue.
Stand down, Lieutenant. This
Captain?
is a murder mystery.
I say nothing and just come in there with Vanessa scanning like crazy.
And sadly, right now, Pinek is a suspect.
It's okay.
Starfleet security regulation says he comes back to his ship and is held in the brig. And I'm glaring at Lagar, like giving him the look like, just give me a reason.
Oh, Lagar is giving you much the same look, and he insists that no, he's coming to the station brig. But while that standoff is going on, Locke, since we don't have Prier today, let's just say that he is on standby. But for some convoluted GM reason, we're gonna have to deal with the station's medical personnel. So for the moment, you don't have a doctor on hand, but Locke, you can still make some general scans.
Lagar doesn't trust us to give a unbiased report.
I like it. Let's roll with it. So Locke,
Or he's off doing a very important operation. Patient will die.
Yeah, something like that.
What is is the Orion that's murdered? By now, I've assumed I'm looking at the scene at least. And is the Orion wearing Starfleet uniform, civilian wear?
So the Orion is actually dressed up as probably a Dabo girl. So not a whole lot, but still modest in a sense.
Okay, a double girl, or at least a working girl's uniform, would infer that she probably came from a nearby club. Okay. I'm just going to look at Lagar. Do you know her?
Well, before we do that, let's have Locke do his scanning. So, Locke, what are you particularly looking for at this point?
Cause of death and any signs of Pinek's DNA on it.
Okay.
Imagine it's probably more reason medicine.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's definitely gonna be reason medicine. I don't think. Do you have targeted scans by any chance as a focus?
Focus.
Let's see. Let me actually look at your focuses here. It's been a while since I got to refresh myself, so let's take a look.
No, yeah, just targeted.
Yeah, you do have targeted scans, and I would say data analysis also applies. Okay. So yeah, it's going to be a reason medicine, difficulty 2, and you will have a focus that applies.
What do I got? Roll the day. Oh.
I will say that you can succeed at cost, but there will be a complication.
You know, I chose not to buy an extra dice with the threat, so I am okay with the failure. Just like, I have my science strike order, and I'm just not picking up.
Yeah, okay. So let's roll with the failure then. Your scan of the area confirms very basic facts. And by that I mean it doesn't give you a whole lot more than what you're already seeing with your own eyes. And what you are seeing is that the cause of death seems to be rather obvious. There is a hell of a gash, if not an open tear in her neck. And the amount of blood in the surrounding area and on Pinek, she probably bled to death within probably less than a minute.
Is there any sign of the murder weapon?
There actually is. It is a knife, serrated knife. Looks to be Klingon in origin. And I guess that's what, a Diktog?
Yeah.
But it is on the floor in the alleyway. I would say a couple feet from the body.
All right. Obviously, the blood on it matches the blood on her.
It does, yes. But that's all you're going to get since you failed.
And the Detang is kind of... It's far enough away from me that I can't see like what the house crest or is on it.
That is correct. Yes, you would have to actually go over and stop squaring off with Zenkethi to check it out.
Yeah, that's not happening right now.
Yeah, we go back to the rest of the people, and yeah, Lagar is not only telling you you're going to be dealing with his people for the autopsy, you're also going to have Pinek in his brig.
Captain, Lieutenant, I am willing to be remanded into station custody.
Captain, would you like someone to go to the brig with him?
Absolutely.
Wonderful. I punched one of the guards.
That wasn't. That wasn't my. Lieutenant. The captain just face palms. Well, that's one way to look after your prisoner. Okay.
Yeah, Drake, because I find it funny, why don't you actually make a roll of it? Daring security, difficulty 1, it will be opposed.
I mean, don't get me wrong, I hate, and I'm really trying not to play Drake as a murder hobo, even though he kind of is.
Right.
Oh, no,
But-
this is actually brilliant.
But that's why I asked, do you want someone to go with him? Yes, I do. All right.
I mean, I'm not gonna lie, it is a rather ingenious way of making sure
Just
you end up in the brig with him.
Yeah.
All right. What did you say it was? Daring and security, right?
Yep.
All right.
And the number to beat is you just need what is that? 2 successes actually. So 2 or more successes, and you win. All right, that's all you need. Go ahead and roll me. Go ahead and roll me your unarmed damage because I find it funny.
What? How do you get the unarmed damage? Is it just straight security?
It should be 1 plus your security, so 6 challenge die, and it does have knockdown, which means if you roll an effect, you knock a big old Zenkethi on his ass.
That's what we're going for.
Wow.
Can I say I actually break his jaw?
He just classic Kirk double-handed fist.
Yeah. Well, you would break his jaw if Zenkethi had bone structure that made sense, but from what I've read, Zenkethi are weird. But you put him down like he is unconscious with how hard you hit him.
And as soon as he hits the ground, I look at Lagar and go, I guess that's 2 to the brig, right?
Lagar actually pulls out his disruptor pistol, points it squarely at you, and says, "You will cease this at once, or I will not tase you. I will phase you where you stand."
Lieutenant Drake, stand down. That is an order.
This is the perfect time to say this. Drake puts up his hands, very nonchalant, with a smirk on his face, and goes, "I'll be your Huckleberry."
And Lagar says, "Captain, I'm also now formally charging your Lieutenant Drake here with assaulting one of my officers, and I will be taking both him and Pinek to my custody immediately."
That's considering what just happened. I will not argue in any way, shape, or form. However, I will be assigning Shatsu to the brig to ensure that both are treated fairly and with respect during their incarceration.
Lieutenant Drake, you also still have my spare tricorder. So while you're in the brig, see if you can get a few scans of Pinek.
So that you said that out loud, Lagar immediately begins patting down both Pinek and Drake and taking anything that you have on you off of you. Unless, key point here, unless the item you have has the hidden quality to it.
I don't believe I have anything on that right now.
Yeah, you don't have anything, Pinek. You just have your uniform.
Yeah, and I think the only thing I have that would have that quality, I did not declare I was bringing with me, so yeah.
Okay, yeah. So, basically, Drake, you are relieved of any instruments. You are allowed to keep your comm badge because, Lagarde doesn't really see a need to take your comm badge. But unless...
He doesn't know what a Starfleet officer can do with one of those.
And it's not like those things can be rigged to become explosives.
Or, personal force fields, but,
Go
ahead.
And I'll look at Locke and just say something that means nothing to anybody else, but just say like, yes, our afternoon was quite good this afternoon or today. It'd be a shame if one of us never got to talk to that person again. And then I don't say another word the rest of the time until we get to the break.
Okay. But yeah, as both Pinek and Drake are being more or less manhandled and slapped in irons, Murthrin and Skull, and Locke, what are you guys doing?
All right, so I think as soon as Murthrin thinks he's got an opening, Murthrin will sort of go up to Locke and say, "Come on, I think we've got some investigating to do."
All right.
And he'll just go to the nearest terminal and start pulling a list of gambling halls or bars or anywhere a Darbo table would be.
Okay.
Go
ahead.
As we're being led away, I say to Drake, "Lieutenant, I must inform you that this will be recorded in your personal record."
Oh, that is such a Pinek thing to do. All right.
Gentlemen, if please work with the station's security and medical teams. I'd get me whatever answers you can find. I'm going to ops.
Damn it. I was muted. Drake will break his silence, look at Pinek and wink and go, "You're right, Commander. Wonderful teamwork should always be noted in one's personal logs."
You are so never getting promoted.
Who's to say I'm actually a lieutenant?
Yeah, he's technically an ensign again. All right, but for sake of argument at this point, Pinek and Drake, you guys are led away. Skull, you're headed up to ops. So that leaves Murthrin, Lagar, and Locke dealing with the scene. So your question, Murthrin, about nearby bars and clubs. To say that you're basically looking for a needle in a haystack is an understatement. There are a lot of those sort of facilities in the nearby area.
Okay. Cross-reference it with Orion woman living on the station and see how many match up.
Narrows it down considerably, but you're still dealing with something on the order of about 15 different possibilities.
Okay, how can we narrow this down further?
Yet? Can we?
Okay, no, hang on. Murthrin does know. Okay, well, actually, yeah, Murthrin will sort of be sitting there looking at the list with Locke and going, okay, well, we know the murder. Well, we know what time the murder took place, so that can narrow it down further. So he'll sort of go back to like the approximate time he got the sudden feeling of dread, and sort of eliminate anyone who happens to be working at this time.
Okay. How do I want to handle this? I would say that we can make an extended task of this, and Locke, you can certainly be doing things if you're not assisting him, but this will be taking Murthrin some time.
Yeah. Yeah, but basically just like going, okay, when was the last point that each of these 15 people turned up in the system? And are there any who've like turned up since the murder happened and we can eliminate them as being the dead person?
Right. So let's have Murthrin, let's have you roll a... What would this be? I guess this would be a control engineering or maybe a control security. Yeah, I think a control security makes the most sense because you are looking at security logs.
Control security.
Let's make the difficulty here a 3 because you are trying to reference logs that are not on your home ship. And you've also got Zenkethi over your shoulder.
Yep. Data pattern analysis.
Sure, yeah, that'll apply.
Control. We don't have any momentum, so I'm going to spend threat to get a third die. Locke, fancy helping me out here?
Absolutely.
All right, so yeah, Locke, you can assist with the same.
Let's look over her shoulder. Get rid of them. This person, they would be on ship, but I mean, the far end of their station. I think your thing works.
Yeah, so 2 successes so far.
All right, so Locke, we need to see a success from you. Otherwise, your effort here is not going to turn out anything for the first, say, 30 minutes you're working.
Yeah.
No pressure.
No
results.
Yeah, no results.
So we're going to be following a dead end while the other people advance the investigation elsewhere.
Exactly. So what happens is you two continue to work on scene, but during that time, the station's doctor arrives and begins moving the body to perform an autopsy. Of course, they take snapshots of the area, hollow images of the area, so that they can study the scene in more detail later. But as soon as they remove the body, a cleanup crew moves in and begins cleaning the area. It's actually a very efficient sort of process. But let's see, where should we go first? Let's do ops first. Let's go to ops.
I'd like Sona to join me in ops.
Say again?
I'd like Sona to join me in ops, please.
Sona to join you in ops. Okay. So you're going to be here, and let me grab Sona.
Just for posterity's sake, that would mean what's her name is in charge of the ship. Yes.
Ty would be in charge of the ship. Yes.
Yeah.
I kept wanting to say Hai Long, and I'm like, that's not the right person. She's not even in this galaxy.
Yeah, she's somewhere quite different. But yeah, you got, let's see. So yeah, Sona joins you at your request, Captain.
All right. Lieutenant Commander Tivna, a moment, please.
She walks in over and says, yeah, what can I do for you, Captain?
Well, I suspect right now your Admiral Wolf is going to be getting a call from your Chief of Security saying that there has been a murder down in the major city.
And right on cue, you hear, literally through the door, you hear the something shattering against the wall of the Admiral's office, and he says, "What do you mean, another murder?"
I raised an eyebrow at that. I'd like my commander is currently the chief suspect in such murder. So therefore, I have brought Lieutenant Sona here to gate full access and request full access to all security logs to track my commander's movements.
And Tivna says, of course, Sona, if you would come over here, please. She motions over towards her console, and the two of them set to work accessing what they can. But yeah, dare you go into the Admiral's office at this point?
I really should have brought my phaser-proof vest.
Or
Yes.
or a bottle of Beckett's Best.
Yeah, sadly, those are in few supply now. It's very difficult to get stuff back from the Andromeda Galaxy.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to chime.
And you hear just a what? What do you what?
This is Captain Skull of the Ophion. I'm assuming you've just heard of the murder. I'd like to come in and talk.
So the door opens and you see a very aggravated wolf pacing back and forth behind his desk. He says, "All right, Small, come in, come in."
Well, sir, I'm standing at complete attention at the moment.
Mm-hmm.
Well, sir, as you're probably aware, sir, my executive officer is the primary suspect in this recent murder. However, I couldn't have helped but overhear a very interesting phrase from your office bellowed at roughly 80 decibels, and that was the phrase, "another murder."
And Wolf, for just the briefest moment, glares at you in a way that suggests he would love nothing more than to just punch you in the face. But
I've stared down Tholians.
yeah,
I can take them.
yeah, it's not too unnerving based on your previous experience, but it's still there and it's noteworthy. But he composes himself at least a little bit, and he says, "Small, I'm going to level with you here. We've had a recent string of murders which we believe to be a sort of copycat killing based on events 7 years ago."
Admiral, I'm going to be very direct with you because you've shown me the same courtesy. My XO is now in your station's brig for a murder that he, I hope, did not commit. I want access to all relevant information so that I could help bring this murderer to justice and hopefully prove my XO innocent of the crime.
Well, you're going to want to talk with, what's his name, Cigar? Yeah, you're going to talk with Cigar about that.
Very well. I will do so.
But let me make something
which murder number is this?
This would be number 2.
I see. I'm sorry, you were about to make something clear.
Yeah, until you interrupted me. And he doesn't snarl, but he sort of sniffs in both a sick and damn uppity captain type way. But he continues to say, "I think I probably should tell you that if this individual was someone among the civilian population, you know that wench that was in here earlier? Yeah, you're going to be seeing more of her too."
I take it that she has some sort of governmentship or mayor of the city?
Yeah, something like that shit. As far as it matters, she is in charge of the civilian population. But the other thing, Captain, I don't think I need to tell you that right now we don't need Zenkethi angry at us. So, don't try to piss them off. Or do. I don't give a shit. In fact, I'd welcome them throwing a punch at me.
Well, that's going to make for some very interesting reading when you get the security report, Admiral.
He
looks
at you curiously and says, what do you mean? I can't tell if you're making a joke."
I'm making light of the situation that in order to ensure that my executive officer is treated fairly, my chief of security had taken, how shall we say, creative interpretation of my orders to ensure his well-being by decking one of the Zenkethi guards, just to ensure that he joins them in the brig.
So, I'm not going to do the blow up because I like to save my throat, but he starts to blow up at you. And as at this point, we're going to cut to the brig. I couldn't find a nice enough brig, so we'll just use the same one we use for Ophion. But, yeah. Drake, Pinek, you're thrown into the same cell.
I 100% imagine the look on Shatsu's face is the one in her token.
Oh yeah, just severe disappointment and just annoyance. She's just like, eh. She shakes her head as you both get, kind of thrown into the room and the force field activates, and she goes up to Lagar and says, all right, Lagar, here's how this is going to work. And Lagar actually cuts her off and says, no, you listen, Cat. This is how it's going to work. These are my prisoners, and until I see fit otherwise, they will be remaining here. Shatsu actually stands up to him, something that is not you've not really seen a whole lot of her, but she actually stands a little bit taller, and her tail starts to swish back and forth. And anyone who has had a cat before knows is the typical sign that they are about to pounce if need be. But Shatsu says, fine, but I'm going to make sure that you don't bungle it up like some blasted Zenkethi with a chip on his shoulder. And there is a moment where they just stare each other down before Lagar says, I have better things to do, such as tracking down why that one, and he points at Pinek, decided to kill a Dabo girl. And he storms off.
If this was an anime, this would be the moment where you get the little sort of lightning bolt between the eyes.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, Shatsu just kind of looks between the two of you and says, so what the hell's going on? I mean, obviously, Drake, you punched a security officer. We're going to have a talk about that later.
Drake says, don't worry, I'll give you a blow by blow. I'm sure you'll be impressed with how quickly he went down.
Point of order, Commander. Allegedly killed a Dabo girl.
Shatsu does kind of look you up and down, Pinek, and says, you are kind of covered in what I assume is her blood.
You cannot infer guilt until such evidence is provided satisfactorily, without reasonable doubt.
Well, as far as I understand the system on this station, and she uses the word chief of security very disdainfully. The chief of security, who you just met, prefers to run things as a more Zenkethi way than the Federation way, and for whatever stupid reason, the Federation presence here on the station is content to let him do it. I profess I don't know a whole lot about Zenkethi law, but I do know at least that they presume guilt before innocence.
I would suggest that you get together with Lieutenant Sona in order to review any Zenkethi doctrine regarding this.
Oh, I certainly plan to.
In the meantime, do not worry about Drake. And I look over at him and I go, there will be a disciplinary hearing regarding actions unbecoming of a Starfleet officer.
Drake, still deadpan, says, I don't understand what those would be. I was simply following orders and being a good teammate to my commander and making sure that he was safe.
Artistic interpretations of orders do not excuse your actions, Lieutenant.
But unless the orders are crystal and pristine and straight-lined, interpretation is kind of what Starfleet is.
So, at this point, Shatsu just kind of shakes her head and says, all right, well, from what I can tell, you're not going to be beaten up in here. I think it's probably safe for me to go interface with Sona. It is my duty to tell you, as the sort of quasi-legal person here, that you do obviously have a right to representative. I don't know if you're going to have a trial or when it could happen, but each of you is, of course, entitled to counsel. I would recommend probably Sona for this matter, as, she's an android. She's going to give you the best and the brightest possible defense that she can muster.
Well, let's just hope that it doesn't come to trial by combat. Scratch that. Yeah, let's hope it comes to trial by combat.
And Shatsu just kind of shakes her head, and unless any of you stop her, she'll depart at that point, leaving you two pretty much in the brig. Go ahead.
I will. I will ask her, and very formally, Lieutenant Commander Shatsu, would you please remind Lieutenant Locke of the last thing I said to him, please?
All right, sure, I can do that. She looks confused, but otherwise takes your words to heart and leaves. But yeah, you're left in the brig. I know it's not on this screen, but if you'll imagine like 6 or 7 other cells, only 2 of them are occupied besides your own, and they're just your usual sort of station criminals, you know, drunks sleeping off their liquor or some petty theft type things, but definitely nothing like what you guys got going on.
Is besides those people, is there anybody else like the picture shows a random like person at a console or anything like that?
It's sort of like on DS9 where this brig is behind the security officer's, I guess you would call it antechamber.
Gotcha.
So there is not anyone in the room at the moment.
Okay. I'm gonna, unless you're whisking us away, I was gonna.
No, have your seat.
Okay. While sitting on the bed, I'll just kind of like look over at Pinek. I don't trust the Zenkethi. I know we're on a Starfleet station, but I didn't trust them to treat you well with the fact that the evidence pointing in the direction that it was. So I did what I did. Yes, I interpreted the captain's orders the way I wanted. But I did what I did because I don't trust them to make sure that you actually receive a fair trial, or even having the rest of the crew look for the actual evidence of what happened.
You do not need to justify your actions to me, Lieutenant Drake. Your completely emotional and illogical actions, as they were. I am able to look after myself and have full confidence in the crew to clear this matter.
Well, yeah, I'll accept illogical. Emotional.
Have you come to the conclusion that by performing this action, you have actually limited me of another resource? You could very well have been out there looking for more evidence to exonerate me, but here you are, completely useless.
Oh, no. No. See, something else that went through my head was, I'm not an investigator. I'm, at best, a thug. The best investigator we have on the ship is Shatsu. So me being in here with you brings the best investigator down here to, well, investigate.
Your train of logic is faulty. Lieutenant Shatsu would have been brought in regardless. And now, all you serve is to be an annoyance. However, we are both in agreement that you are no more than a brainless thug.
You know, you're not the first Vulcan that's called me that before. But you're also not the first Vulcan that I've ended up in a brig with before.
Wait, did the lights just dim, or was that the shade?
And if, seeing we're here alone, if the rumor, and at this point, like, Drake is not, now a little bit of emotion's coming out.
Mm-hmm.
If the rumor that you, Mr. Emotionless, packed away, locked inside your head, Vulcan, has a dark side and would like to come out, let's just set a day. And maybe I'll have to beat it out of you. But until that day, let's just keep working like we have been, which is a really good team.
Your definition of good team needs clarification, and I do not track with rumors, Lieutenant. I am only concerned with logic and the evidence needed to exonerate me. And I completely ignore his oddly stated threat.
Alright. Well, it is at this point that we are going to cut away. We're going to go back to Locke and Mithrin.
Yep, so Mithrin will just sort of put the pad down, frustration. Nothing. It's like, we're going to have to rely on the Zenkethi autopsy to narrow this down.
I am yet the knife didn't have any Pinek's DNA. There's nothing tying him to the crime except for the copious amounts of blood on him.
Yeah, the knife puzzles me. I don't think Pinek even owns a Klingon knife.
Also, he's strong. If he was going to kill someone in a crazy fit of rage, he just bludgeoned them to death.
You'll strangle them. Ugh. That's an unpleasant thought. Pinek wanting to kill someone. Well, can we get anything on the knife? Do we know where it came from?
Good. Do we know anyone who has knives?
Let me think. On your crew, I would say that you do have a Klingon officer. Well, maybe they're enlisted more than an officer. Yeah, we'll say you've got a chief Mirthrin that is on Gamma shift, who's actually an engineer, and he's probably the only Klingon you know of on the Ophion that might have a dagger. Dictog.
Let's actually, I wonder if we could track Pinek's movements prior to this. Like, when did he take off his comm badge? Where is it?
That was a question I was waiting for someone to ask.
Well, when did you last hear from him, Locke?
He called Drake and I after some minor incident in the bridge.
When was
Computer,
that?
where is the location of Commander Pinek's comm badge?
And the computer informs you that Commander Pinek is currently located on the Ophion Auxiliary Walkway, which is a fancy way of saying the bridge that connects the Ophion with the station.
Gangway.
The gangway, thank you. I couldn't remember the stupid term for it.
Commander,
Let's go pick that up. And Mirthrin will start quick walking to the gangway.
All right. So yeah, you guys get to the gangway in short order, and it doesn't take you too long to search and find a discarded comm badge just kind of laying on the floor.
Quick little scan of the area to see if there's any Orion DNA.
Sure. Go ahead and roll me. I'm going to say this time it's a reason science. Difficulty 1.
Scanning. Well, we know he came through here. Am I detecting any signs of anyone else?
I mean, you're seeing some usual foot traffic of people coming in and out of the Ophion, but specifically, you're not seeing any Orion DNA.
All right. So when Locke gives me like the time that, well, actually, either when Locke tells me or when I access the comm badge to see when it was last used. So comparing when he contacted Locke and Drake to when I got the premonition that something was wrong, sort of what's the time frame there?
I would say there is a period of about, we'll say 30 minutes between when... oh, thank you. I was confused at what you meant there, Drake. Sorry. There's about a period of about 30 minutes between when Pinek made that call to Locke and when you felt the series or the sensation of dread. So there's a 30-minute window where his actions and his position are unaccounted for.
I was hoping to eliminate him as a suspect that way, but 30 minutes.
Any sign that the comm badge is damaged at all, or was it just like removed and dropped?
Just removed and dropped.
You can do a lot in 30 minutes. And Pinek doesn't remember why he was there?
What's the travel time between the location where the gangplank...
I mean, there's these lovely things called turbolifts, so unless he's going from the bottom engineering deck all the way up to ops, I would say at max it's probably a 10-minute trip at most to anywhere on the station.
I'm just saying, like, how long did it take us? So it was like 5 minutes?
Yeah, something like 5 minutes to get from where you were to where you are now.
Well, let's consult with our Klingon engineer friend, see if there's anything odd about this knife. Actually, can I retroactively say that I've just got like a holographic scan of the knife, like for forensic purposes?
I will say that since Shatsu and Sona are on the job, that you guys as a whole will have copies of the holo imaging, yes.
Cool.
So you
I'll skin
could
the crap out of it.
theoretically recreate the entire scene on the Ophion if you so wished.
Good old Star Trek forensics.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, so that'll be Murthrin's next port of call. Will be consulting with our Klingon crew member to say, hey, is there anything odd about this knife, or is it just a bog standard Klingon knife?
Okay. And while that's going on, we're going to briefly cut to whatever Skull is doing. So, Captain, what are you up to at this moment?
Right now, the captain is sort of just standing at ops, getting the dressing down of his lifetime out of his ears.
Okay. So, yeah, go ahead.
He wants to just look over Sona's shoulder and just, poke her every now and then for updates, but at the same time, he knows that's ineffective.
Mm-hmm.
So what he's going to do is he's going to sit down at a console,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm going to use my Trill ability to get a focus
Okay.
for pulling from Valen, my first host,
Mm-hmm.
computer systems skill.
Okay.
He's going to start poking through station. He's going to start poking through station sensors, archives, and around the same time as these previous murders,
Mm-hmm.
he wants to start looking for sensor readings during that time.
Okay. So go ahead and roll me we'll call this a reason science or a reason security. Actually, let's make
Okay.
it either a reason science or a control security. And
Okay.
let's make the difficulty here a 2, but you do have a focus.
Reason science. I'm going to use the one momentum we got,
Okay.
which means I'm going to have to redo this. Using the science. Yes.
Hey, that's
Cool.
all you need.
That's all I need.
What in particular? Basically, it's like a free question.
Yep.
What are you after in particular?
Give me a couple seconds because I'm working on. I want to in game because my first host was around during the whole TOS era.
Mm-hmm.
I'm wanting to find a metagamey reason, or not metagamey reason, to see if these have anything to do with the original Jack the Ripper host type murders.
Oh, I see.
Which I admit to not actually seeing that episode in about 15 years. So I think there was some sort of radiation surge or something which when it jumped hosts, but I don't remember specifically what it was.
Yeah, it's been a while since I've seen that episode too. I would say that you're not detecting whatever was the phenomena involved with that series of murders.
Okay.
That is not present. But since you did succeed, you and Sona at about the same time are going to come up with the access logs of previous murders of the station. And by that I mean you now have access to the most recent murder, besides obviously the one that just happened, and as well as a string of about 5 murders that happened back in 2371.
Okay. Did they find the killer for the first string?
They did not.
Interesting. Okay. And was there a commonality, or what were the circumstances, I guess, would be the best question for that.
In every single case, the victim was more or less their own cause of death, meaning that they killed themselves. However, it was discovered in autopsy, and at about this point that Shatsu would forward you the relevant logs, Captain. It is at this point that you're seeing in the autopsy reports that the neurochemistry of the victims indicates that they were under a very powerful mental suggestion, meaning that someone either mind melded with them and implanted some form of idea or thought that then drove them to suicide, or someone with extreme telepathic, empathic abilities more or less took control of them and forced them to kill themselves.
That's distressing. Okay. Interesting. Okay. Let's see. Now, I wish I had a CMO here, but no, he's having Thanksgiving. Okay. I'm just going to look over to Sona, who I'm assuming is, and just beckon her over to look at my logs so that we're looking at the same thing. Sona, are you aware of any? Are you aware if there was a logs words fail me. Damn murder gets my emotions riled up every time. Are you aware if there are any signs of a recent mind meld on this victim? Usually, let's see, it's Orion. Usually, if it was a forceful mind meld, then it should leave some sort of visible bruising on the face, correct?
Sona thinks for a moment and says, as far as I'm aware, Captain, it depends on the skill of the Vulcan doing the mind meld. It has been reported in the past that, yes, forcible mind melds usually do leave some sort of physical sign, but based on what little I know of Vulcan culture and Vulcan capabilities, it is possible to perform a mind meld without leaving a single trace, visibly anyway.
Dead people tell no tales.
And it is at this point, Captain, that you get a call from someone you don't recognize, at least until the voice clicks and you realize it's the Romulan-looking woman from before. And she says, this is Governess Kulana to Captain Skull.
Governess Kulana, what can I do for you today?
Well, I understand that one of my citizens was murdered. I would like to talk with you in my club at your earliest convenience.
I'm going to raise an eyebrow. Club. Interesting. Very well. I'll be down within the next 10 to 15 minutes. Which club is yours? There seems to be a decent number of them on this station.
Oh, Club Myriad, of course.
Of course. Makes a mental note for that Myriad. That up until this point, he had thought that Myriad was a planet.
Well, I think that's something I should probably give you at this point. So Myriad, as far as you've been able to access, is a quote-unquote black market in a nebula nearby, well, galactically nearby the station. It's like a few light years out. But I would think it would take maybe just literally typing in Club Myriad and referencing its history. Kulana came from the black market sort of smugglers Myriad and established a actual Club Myriad here on the station at about 2371.
Very well. All right, then I shall go to Club Myriad and request a random security red shirt just in case.
Alrighty.
Because my regular bodyguard seems to have gotten himself imprisoned.
And just so we're getting everybody almost together, Locke and Murthrin, you have not been able to get anything meaningful from the unnamed Klingon officer, who I'll give a name eventually. He basically would say that, from what he's been told and maybe what he's seeing, it's just a standard replicated dagger. It could be anyone's.
Basically just making sure there's not, oh look, there's this distinctive marking that says it's from House yada yada.
Yeah, nothing like that.
Cool.
Then I'd like to go to the holodeck and recreate the first.
Yep, let's reconvene with everyone else, see what data everyone's got, and then try and recreate the forensic scene.
Okay. So, Captain, would you invite Locke and Murthrin to the club, or shall we handle your scene first?
An empath and a person with intelligence background, you'd better believe they're coming with me.
Awesome. All right, let me get you guys set up in the club, but I think this is a perfect opportunity for our break. So, gentlemen, if you would be back no later than, let's say, 5 after the hour.
Alrighty.
All right, be right back.
Righto.
And I am back for those of you watching on stream or on YouTube. Of course, thank you guys so much for tuning on in and checking out my little game. It's always fun to see that people get a kick out of my games. Just as a reminder, for those of you that are on Twitch, if you have Amazon Prime, you automatically have Twitch Prime. And with Twitch Prime, you get a free sub to a channel of your choice every single month. All you have to do is, I believe it's just an option under the subscribe button to do so. Just remember that Twitch Prime, you have to pretty much resub manually every single month. It does not automatically roll over. I know it's dumb, but it also kind of makes sense in case you want to show your support to, a myriad of channels and just sort of spread the love around. Of course, you don't have to spend it on me, but if you do, I appreciate it. Also, as I said at the top of
I'm back.
As I said at the top of the order, or the hour, or session, you know what I mean. The mission compendium that I recently put together is available on my Patreon. You should be able to find a link to it on both my Twitter. In fact, I believe it's my pinned tweet. And you should also be able to find it if you just go to my Patreon. If you are watching on Twitch, I believe I have a button below the viewer. Should take you right to it. And as I said, it's free of charge. Grab it. And I would love to hear if any of you actually run the adventures. I'd love to see how other people handle it. I think that's all I have to say for you guys on stream, other than thank you again, and I'll unmute myself for everybody else. And I'm back.
As am I.
So yeah, you guys are having fun with this, which is what I love.
Yeah, I was so thinking that this was parroting that Jack the Ripper episode.
It does have some interesting parallels, but honestly, I was not thinking of it when I made this episode. This is, and I probably should have said this at the beginning of the session, this is very much inspired by my Friday game, that we're literally knee-deep in investigating our own set of murders that are kind of the same thing that I've described. I play Tivna in that game, but I thought, given Pinek's recent psychological change, that this was a perfect time to do this.
That's funny because I was actually
100%.
RPing. I was gonna go to the medical facility to kind of RP with the CMO there about this thing I just like.
Ah. Isn't Bendy's system the same thing Tuvok had?
His dad had.
Yeah.
Oh wait, I mean Spock's dad had. I believe Tuvok had it.
Yeah.
Ah, Sarek. That's his name. I knew it was somebody. I couldn't remember his name. Yes, Sarek. All right. Yes. All right. That's an interesting thread. I'll let you pull it in character and see what happens.
Or you could just call him Spock, Senior Spock. He loves that.
Spock's daddy.
Yeah.
Well, unfortunately, he's dead at this point.
Yeah,
so.
I was gonna say, when did Sarek die?
He dies about midway through TNG.
Yeah.
Yeah, the episode of Spock, the crossover. I think it's
2368. So yeah, he's been dead for what is that? 11 years? Yeah, 11 years at this point.
But he is alive and well and sillily subtle in Discovery. So yay.
Oh yeah, I actually quite like Sarek in Discovery.
with his random martial arts fightings in the Mind Realms.
I forget the martial arts bit. Oh, was that during the whole like mind melody thing?
Yeah, where she's mind melding with him.
Oh yeah,
And then having a discussion that just randomly start kung fu fighting for a reason.
I mean, as one does.
To be fair, he wasn't keen on having anyone in his head.
And you know, everyone is a much better fighter in their own mind.
This is true. This is very true.
I can fully agree that some of the scars on my body are proof to that.
Yes.
Yeah, and I know a lot of people weren't too keen on the whole. Oh yeah, Spock has an adopted sister that he never talks about. But I mean, come on, it's Spock. That is 100% something Spock would do, is never mention his adopted sister.
He also has a wife that he's never mentioned.
This is also true.
And
Well,
a brother
yeah.
that was only mentioned once.
Okay, I don't mind the whole he has a sister he's never mentioned before, from a canon perspective, because of course we didn't find out about Kirk's brother until it was convenient plot. It's Spock's brother.
Oh yeah, that's right. He just sort of randomly turns up.
That's a TV thing that went on. But with the whole, here's our new protagonist, and they're a close personal relative of beloved character X, is fan fiction writing 101.
Oh yeah,
That is-
totally.
That is the lamest, cheapest way to make you care about a character. Is to make you emotionally invested is to tie them to someone else. Here's my
100%.
character, and they're Picard's cousin, which is why you should care about them. And they're cool, and they knew Data at the Academy, and yada. It's just like,
Isn't that literally the whole origin of Mary Sue as a term? Like, wasn't Mary Sue legitimately a bit
Oh
of
yeah, like
Star Trek
it literally
yeah.
came from Star
She
Trek
was,
fan
yeah.
fiction was the origin.
yeah, it's that. It's a fan fiction trope is tying them to an existing character, and so much of Discovery had that kind of fan fiction-y connections. It's like,
Because the characters themselves
Sure.
are genuinely enjoyable.
Yeah.
Are we talking about Discovery?
Yeah, for
Apparently.
a brief moment, yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
I
I
Didn't
stand
make
by
it-
Saru.
I didn't make it through season 1.
I'm
Fair enough.
looking
It's
forward.
a rough first season.
I'm eagerly looking forward to season 2. I like the small fixes they've done, and most of my so much of the complaints of Discovery are distractions for other problems. But like, it's nice that they're fixing the small things of, hey, here's the uniforms, and it's so good how much better they look when you just have the proper colors, and it's such a great adaptation of the classic. And then just like little
Right.
things of like giving Klingons hair fixes so many of the makeup. It's like, they have hair. Okay, that's all I wanted.
Yeah, I'd just like to believe that Takuvma's sex shaved their head for whatever reason.
Oh,
Yeah,
that
They're
100%.
weird like that. Who knows? But
Yeah,
anyway,
that's the reason they're giving is that they
Yeah.
shaved themselves, their heads, for out of shame because they didn't have a leader for the
I mean,
Empire.
but personally, I was headcanoning it as in like this is still during the whole Klingons are reeling from the retrovirus thing. So you've sort of got the original series Klingons who don't have the head ridges because they're like the rank and file, and then you've got the other ones who are sort of like from the noble houses or whatever who have gone into extensive plastic surgery to sort of recreate it.
But that's a whole nother huge discussion that we can get on a tangent.
Oh,
for.
yeah,
there's
well,
lots
we're
of
kind
ways
of on a
to fix
tangent.
We'll
fact
put a
that
pin
they
on that
can
and
move
come
on.
back to it after the session.
Yeah, after the session. But yeah, it sounds like everyone's here. So let's resume where we were. So, Skull, Murthrin, Locke, you guys meet up in Club Myriad, and you might remember this map from when you were on Zavoisie, but I like it as a club setting, and it's just a nice map. So we're back here again. And as it turns out, Skull, when you come inside, you're actually greeted by a Dabo girl. She's we'll say she's an Andorian, and she says, "Captain Skull, the governess is expecting you. Please come this way to her private table." And
Of course.
she leads the trio of you up to the second floor. And you are more or less taken to a VIP area that overlooks the entire club. And seated there, like, what's her name?
Any weird vibes off her, or is she just like normal?
For the moment, she's feeling normal. But what was I trying to say? Oh yeah, so if any of you have played Mass Effect 2, if you remember Arya and Club Omega, same kind of vibe.
I have weird connotations of this place. I feel like I should
just
go
quickly
on
Google.
But yeah, you're taken right up to her, and the governess is currently seated behind a very large round table, and she motions for you all to sit and says, gentlemen, please have a seat. We have much to discuss.
Governess, a pleasure, even if I wish the circumstances were better.
Indeed. So, what have you found out so far about the murder of my Dabo girl?
Oh, we lost sound there.
Where did I
Murder.
cut off?
A murder of your what?
Of her Dabo
Do you know
girl.
the victim?
That's your.
What was her name? Let's can we get a name so we can stop calling her Dead Gobble Girl?
Her name is Lavu. Livvou.
I'm afraid our evidence at the moment is scant, but I'll motion for Murthrin and Locke to give their reports.
Mm-hmm. Well,
She dead.
found precious little out so far, other than collecting all the forensic data.
We found infuriatingly little. Everything seems to point to our commander, but nothing seems to either confirm nor deny his existence in the matter. His forensics is frustratingly vague.
There is something else that I was able to pull from old security logs. That this murder and the one that just happened recently bears a lot in common with a previous string of murders that happened 7 or 8 years ago. And I'll slide a pad with that information to the governess.
She doesn't even... I mean, she'll take it, but she doesn't even look at it as she replies, "Yes, in fact, that was exactly what I was going to ask if you knew about."
Yes. So, the first question, since it's been my experience that people who call who bear the title governess and hang out in these sort of environment instead of a political office tends to know a lot about individuals that could be disruptive to their environments and organizations. So, are you aware of any excessively strong telepath or empath?
You sound like our lovely security officer on the station. As I told him, I know of a few telepaths, sure, but anyone capable of performing something like this? Not that I know of.
I'm just going to side-eye Murthrin real quick. See if he...
So, Murthrin,
picks
if you want to
anything
roll me a Insight Con, difficulty 2.
Mm-hmm. Insight Con. 2. What's the difficulty?
2.
Okay. We still don't have any momentum. I think I'm going to spend another threat to get a third dice.
Okay.
Because my con isn't the highest.
Hey,
3
you
success.
get a momentum. Very nice. You know right away, Murthrin, that while she is skilled at hiding her emotions from would-be empaths, you still get the sense that she's not being entirely forthright.
Mm-hmm. So let's go. Let's start seeing if we can narrow down Lavu's movements. When did you see her last?
Well, as far as I'm aware, Lavu left here at the end of her shift, like normal, and an hour
Which
later,
was?
she was dead in that alleyway.
Right. Mithrin will sort of like start figuring out the timeline and working out what sort of time code of security cameras he'll need to look at to sort of try and track her movement.
Okay.
Are you aware if Lavu had any liaisons with Klingon or fascination with Klingon culture?
I mean, now that I think about it, yeah, she's always had a thing for their weaponry. I know that she usually carried around a dictog for safety purposes.
I
That answers
pass
that
a
question.
pad over with the scan, and we have the murder weapon. Does this match look like her weapon or a Detog?
She looks at it briefly and says, "Yeah, that looks about right. I can't really confess to know too much about it. I just know that, like any Dabo girl in the terrestrial enclosure, or as we like to call it, the hive, like any Dabo girl in the hive, you tend to carry protection with you."
Did she have any enemies or problems with any customers?
No, I
You're
mean,
aware?
what Dabo girl doesn't have problems with customers? But no, not that would be something like this. I can't really think of anyone who would really wish her ill, like to go so far as to kill her.
So, yeah, out of character, I'm just figuring out what else we want to ask her, because Mithrin knows she's like holding back on the whole, does she know anyone that could have done this?
Mm-hmm.
But doesn't quite know how to phrase that without tipping her off.
Let's see. So there was a 5-year gap between the last murder and the more recent ones. Might that line up with a prison sentence, or someone who has left the station and has returned, or maybe gone to the other other myriad or other place in system to continue their rampage?
So Governess, of course, smiles and says, "It's not a bad train of thought you have there, Captain, but I believe this is something a bit more insidious. You see, the earlier string of murders in 2371, they were accompanied by a rather nasty Romulan virus that got implanted with the station's security system. And though the murderer was never caught, it was a fan theory among those of us in the civilian world that whoever planted the initial security virus that had the intent of disrupting the station's critical systems, including life support, that they may have been one and the same, and that operative who planted the virus may still be among us."
We're talking computer virus, right? Not
Correct, yes.
airborne. Okay. Okay.
So I was briefly thinking, oh, like they think it might have been a Romulan. The murder stopped just as a Romulan virus swept the station.
Interesting. So, potentially someone has returned in a different form, maybe?
Well, do we have any information on the first victim?
The very first victim or the one that happened recently?
The one that happened recently. I'm wondering if maybe they were the original target and the string of murders as a cover-up.
I would say that between the three of you, you would have picked up that it is the similar MO where, strong mental suggestion leads to suicide. But it's not like the murders seemed to have a connection to anything. It seemed really random, just out of the blue.
Out of the blue. All right. Anything else we want to try and get out of her while we're here? Director?
Strong mental suggestion that leads to suicide.
Mm-hmm.
Picked up by Pinek at the same time, so both the victim and Pinek decide to kill her.
Or is it possible that Pinek was... Do we have medical scans of Pinek's systems?
I would say you do.
Any indication that how he was knocked unconscious?
That much is still something Prier is working on, but he says he'll have an answer for you within the hour.
I mean,
Good.
hopefully he can at least tell us what the last thing he remembers doing is.
That would involve going to see Pinek, but yes.
Yes, we should probably go and question our first officer. I mean, he is the suspect after all.
Well, we'll come back. We'll come back if we get any new information we might need help with. But for now,
Yeah.
on with the case.
Thank you for your time, Governess. If we can be of any further assistance to you, or if you believe you can be of further assistance to us, here's our contact frequencies.
She smiles and nods and says, "Very well. And do know, you're welcome back here at Club Myriad anytime."
Yes, I do have eyes on some of that liquor behind that bar.
Is that what you're calling it? And she gives you a very knowingly smile.
Sheesh. I mean, you talk sweet to one Dabo girl, and all of a sudden, you develop a reputation.
One Debo girl?
Okay, maybe 4.
In each station, yes.
In each station, yeah. All right. So, who's going down
I mean,
to...
to be big, getting a reputation as a customer who's always nice and courteous to the Dabo girls would... I can see that getting around.
Yeah, it's nothing weird. It's just,
Big tipper.
Just
as we go out of... As we leave the club, Merthin will sort of lean over to the captain and go, she is hiding something. When you asked her about about people on the station who might be able to do this, like, she wasn't being entirely forthright.
I see. How many Locke, I'd like you to head back, I'd like the pair of you to head back to the ship and see what sort of discrete scans you can get of Myriad and the surrounding area. I'm very interested to know if there are... Look for telepathic species that are non-standard to Federation.
Yeah.
Well,
Now,
there
I'll
are...
also see if I can't narrow down Lavu's movements before the murder.
On a completely unrelated question, there was a Romulan virus was mentioned.
Yes.
I don't personally know much about the Romulan-Vulcan split, but is it possible a Romulan could have telepathic abilities like a Vulcan?
I mean, they do have some latent ability.
I don't believe a case has ever been documented, but then again, knowing their Tal Shiar, it's not...
Romulans in general lack the sheer discipline needed to develop their latent abilities into something workable.
Yes. It was often hypothesized, if I recall correctly, that the Vulcan planet, the harsh planetary conditions of Vulcan itself, spurred them to make an evolutionary jump. But that's all hypothesis. They're very protective of their species history.
I mean, even I don't know that much about it, and I grew up on the planet.
Anyways, let me know what you guys find. I'm heading down to the brig to make sure that Drake hasn't caused any more damage.
All right. And we're going to cut to the brig. And there's Skull.
And there's half a dozen Zenkethi knocked out on the floor.
Yeah, there's just, there's dead Zenkethi everywhere. The brig is on fire. No.
Otherwise known as a Saturday night.
Yes, otherwise known as Saturday night. But yeah, unless Drake and Pinek, unless either of you have tried to escape at this point, you're pretty much where you were left.
Not yet.
Negative.
All right. So yeah, Captain, you walk inside, and of course the Zenkethi does escort you, and the Zenkethi does remain in the room. Does stay off to the side so that he's not involved with your conversation, but he is in the room.
Okay. Gentlemen, how have you been treated?
satisfactory. However, I would like to complain about the torture Lieutenant Drake is putting me under and his incessant need for small talk.
Well,
Captain, I would also like to formally request that you get an exo that's not a brick wall.
Mr. Drake, you chose this assignment.
Yeah, you got me on that one, Captain.
Yes, I did. And believe me, we'll be having discussions once this is all done and dusted.
What progress has been made, Captain?
Sadly, very little. We're investigating a series of murders that stretch back several years now. That this one might be the most recent in such a string. The current hypothesis is that each quote-unquote victim was telepathically or empathically manipulated to commit suicide rather than murder. So I have.
That would still count as murder, but
Yeah, it would still count as murder, but
Is this a new thing on this station, or is this something that's happened before?
this is something that has happened before, Lieutenant. A series of, what was it, 5 murders?
4.
4. Series of 4 murders happened about 5 years ago, and then one happened about how many weeks?
We'll say about 2 weeks.
Then one 2 weeks ago, and now this one. So, Mr. Pinek, I must ask that you meditate and see if you can recall every action you took from the moment you left the station to where we found your comm badge in wherever it was.
It was in the gantry-way leading out of the Ophion.
Yeah.
Captain, the logic would stand that if this murder is indeed linked to the others, and I was not present for the others, then I am not guilty.
There is definite cause for non-guilt. However, try telling that to the Zenkethi who currently control the access codes to the brig.
If you think I'm illogical, just imagine a strong-headed Zenkethi.
He's got a point.
If you do indeed intend for me to seek any sort of mental awareness of my actions, I would request to be moved to an empty cell.
Commander, if you're worried about me talking, don't worry, I can be quiet. Would you prefer the bed, or would you prefer sitting on the floor?
Very well, Lieutenant. I will take the floor.
Very well.
Well, actually, but before he goes into meditate, what is the last thing he remembers?
Yes. Well, that's why I'm asking him to meditate, because that's the best way for him to detect if, like, a full proper memory, like meditation to remember his every step.
Mhm.
That would be the best way for him to figure out if there was a strong mental influence as soon as he left the ship.
And yeah, so that we don't have to like say, all right, Skull leaves for an hour, does something else, and comes back. Let's just handle this all as one scene.
Sure.
So Pinek, of course, you can make an argument for something else, but I think this is probably a good fitness medicine check because you're calling upon sort of your inner reserves, your mental reserves to try and recall what's going on. But of course, you can feel free to suggest a different combination. This will be a difficulty 3 task, and the work track will be, we'll say, 10, and you need 3 breakthroughs.
Alright, it's the first time I've ever done any rolls like these, so you're going to have to walk me through them. But
Yeah.
could I make an argument for reason instead of fitness?
Reason...
My mental acuity?
Sure, I'll allow it. So to start, Pinek, you're just going to roll me a reason science. The difficulty to beat is a 3, so you might want to spend momentum or threat or both.
I'll spend a momentum.
Okay.
All right.
I also have a composure, focus, or
That'll
inspiration, but I roll 3d20s, right?
Correct. because you spent the momentum for the additional dice. All right, that's 3 successes. So what you're going to do now, Pinek? Well, it was what is your medicine score?
Oh, you said science. Sorry. Medicine's 1.
Let's
Science
see.
is 2.
Okay, yeah. If I meant to say medicine, if I wasn't, you still succeed. You still get enough. So for medicine, if you only have a medicine score of 1, you're gonna need to roll me 3 challenge die now. Okay. So effectively, what this means is that you would be doing 1 work on the track, and you need to make 10 work in order to complete the task, or at least start to get breakthroughs, if that makes any sense. So what you're trying to get here is either completing the work track to start making breakthroughs that way, or to roll a total of 5 on your challenge die to achieve a breakthrough that way. So you have the option of spending threat in this case to re-roll those 2 zeros, but it's entirely up to you if you even want to try doing that.
I'll re-roll them. I'll give you threat for that. So I give you 2 threat.
No, just give me the 1, and you get to re-roll those 2 zeros. Much better.
Nice.
That's a total of 3. So, Pinek, you gotta, sit down, find your mental center, and you begin to think and probe your memory or what remains of it. And you're starting to get a very vague picture. You know you were headed to the medical facility. You remember going on the gangway, and then something entered your mind. But that's all you're getting at the moment. So if you want to try again, it's another reason medicine. It's still at a difficulty of 3.
How do advantages work?
So advantages in this instance would be something like Pinek saying that he has a very how do I want to say this? He has a very it's kind of like lucid dreaming where you do reality checks every so often, and that's how you basically trick yourself into lucid dreaming. If Pinek were to say spend 2 threat because we don't have momentum, if he were to say spend 2 threat and basically have some sort of a reference of, hey, I do XYZ every so often to make sure that, I'm in control, it is possible for the difficulty of the task to go down by 1.
The reason I ask is I have an ability. I have my perk that will let me get an advantage without requiring a task or spending any resources.
Yeah, I know the one because you're an intelligence officer.
Right.
For you,
what I was thinking,
ahead.
role playing wise, justifying was, as all TV shows do. As I said earlier, this isn't the first time I've been locked in a brig with a Vulcan.
Mm-hmm.
Is maybe if I know, I don't know, chanting or humming or something that Vulcans use when they meditate to give him an advantage on the tasks.
Let's see. I would say that you would know that if he were provided certain scented candles and other incense, that would have helped tremendously. But you would still have to request those items from the guard.
And I don't think I can have it site-decided into the brig, correct?
Well, that would defeat the purpose of a brig, but yeah.
Oh.
Not to kind of work against myself here,
Mm-hmm.
but wouldn't this all be completely circumstantial evidence and not be entered in, admissible in any kind of fashion?
I mean, it's only one way to find out, really.
Alright, so I just roll 2d20 since I'm not spending momentum or threat now.
Correct. But if you want to spend more threat or momentum so you have that 3rd die, that's entirely up to you. All right. So yeah, unfortunately, you're just not able to pierce what appears to be the mental block around the sort of gangway event. You can certainly try again, but at this point, it's been probably about 15 minutes of you just straight meditating. So it's up to you if you want to continue or if you want to just stop there and kind of wave it off.
I'll try one more time.
Okay.
Ooh, So
Not
close.
quite enough, yeah. So yeah, unfortunately, you're just not getting through it. It's just not coming to you.
With a huff, I kind of just stand up. My apologies, Captain. Is he? If he's still there,
Oh yeah.
Oh
he
yeah,
is.
I'm here.
I am unable to find a center. Uh, my last recollection was of going down the gangway on my way to the medical facility when I was psychically assaulted. After that, I woke up in the alleyway.
I see. Well, thank you for the extra information, though, Pinek. If you happen to find something, do let me know.
And before anything else happens, Pinek, you hear a voice in your mind. It's your own voice, but it's the side of you you normally keep under control. And that voice says, I might know what happened, but you'd have to let me out.
Oh no.
Oh,
That is a very dangerous wager there.
I'm about to stand up and head out and see what else I can find. So,
Captain,
yes,
it would be remiss of me to not offer every avenue we have available to us.
I will raise a Spock-like eyebrow. You mean him?
Indeed.
I see.
He has motioned forward that he would be able to help. Whether or not this is a genuine act, I am unable to determine. However, it would require Lieutenant Drake to be removed from my presence.
Well,
Does
guard.
it?
Zenkethy looks over.
Lieutenant Drake is not happy with his current situation, and he requests a separate cell, preferably one that is guarded by 2 Zenkethy guard.
Roll me a presence command, and if you've got leadership, diplomacy, negotiation, that'll apply.
I have subterfuge.
Yeah, that'll work too. Difficulty 2 here.
Presence command?
Uh-huh.
I don't have to leave.
Oh, yeah, you do. Do.
I'm giving you your own cell and 2 meat puppets to punch on. Like,
They're not going to let me beat them up. I mean,
you could try. Like,
I would beat them up, but they're not going to let me.
Better than being strangled to death, believe
All
me.
right. Well, good news is that the guard seems to go for it. And he says, "Very well,
Yeah.
you, that one, Drake, step out." And he taps the force field, and it lowers, and he motions for you to step out and into another cell.
Drake will slowly walk out, and as I walk into the other cell, just purely for my own entertainment,
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to throw a head fake at one of the Zenkethy.
Zenkethy responds by literally kicking you in the stomach into the cell.
Mm. So there's 2 of you, huh? How many more you got?
They just sort of snort derisively and go back to doing their Overwatch duties of the captain.
Yeah, it's a good thing you put up this force field. Man, would it be bad for you if this wasn't here?
Zenkethy apparently has the mental fortitude to ignore your taunting.
I'm going to keep going until the captain tells me to stop, by the way.
oh no, I'm perfectly happy letting him do that. That keeps the guards distracted too, while I sidle up close to Pinek and go, I will not order you to let him out. There are probably other ways.
We must investigate every possibility we have, Captain, and I see no other better setting in which to do so.
Very well. I'm assuming the force field is raised again?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Very well. At your leisure.
One moment,
And-
Captain.
and then Drake's going to continue to talk shit to these guards. More at this point as a prod to Pinek's dark side to come out because of how annoyed Pinek is at Drake.
Mm-hmm.
So something along the lines of talking to one of the Zinkethian going, hey you, hey stupid. When he turns around and go, good to know you know your name, you dumb shit.
I love it. So yeah, Pinek, I'm going to say that you're able to let him out, but I also think that this is a perfect opportunity to call the session.
Oh
So-
man, I had such great stuff coming.
Yeah.
Damn.
So the good news, gentlemen, is we will be continuing this next week. So of course, players, stick around for a little bit longer. But to anyone watching on Twitch or YouTube, thank you so much for tuning in, and I will see you later. Bye-bye.